You want change that lasts and feels real. This audiobook shows how small daily choices can reshape work habits, energy, and confidence without drama or extreme effort. Here are clear steps you can use tomorrow morning, tonight, and every day after that. You will learn simple routines that protect focus, ways to keep going when motivation drops, how to notice mistakes early, and how to fix them without guilt. You will get practical methods for tracking honest progress, creating a space that supports good choices, and responding calmly when problems appear. Each idea is meant to be used, not studied. Picture waking up with a quiet plan and finishing the day with a quick, honest review that points exactly to one small action for tomorrow. Imagine feeling steadier, more capable, and less scattered because your days follow clear steps. That feeling begins with small actions repeated daily. This introduction will guide you through specific habits, scripts, and checklists. If you are tired of quick fixes and want a concrete path towards steady growth, this audiobook will give tools you can use right away. Stay with the chapters and practice the daily steps, and you will see real change. Chapter 14: Build daily habits that improve life through small actions. Every meaningful change in life begins in a small and often unnoticed way. People tend to search for dramatic breakthroughs, powerful moments of motivation, or sudden transformations, yet real growth rarely works like that. Life improves through the quiet choices made every day, especially the ones that seem too small to matter. A habit repeated daily shapes identity, behavior, and results over time. When small actions are practiced with intention, they slowly rewire how a person thinks, reacts, and lives. This chapter is about understanding the truth deeply and learning how to build daily habits that steadily improve life without overwhelm, pressure, or unrealistic expectations. Most people fail at personal growth because they aim too high at the start. They promise themselves complete change, strict routines, and perfect discipline. When reality does not match those expectations, frustration appears, followed by guilt and eventually giving up. A wiser approach is to work with human nature instead of fighting it. The human mind resists sudden change but adapts well to small, consistent behavior. When an action feels manageable, the brain does not trigger resistance. This is why growing 1% every day works. It does not demand perfection. It only demands presence and effort in the moment. A daily habit is not a task added to an already busy life. It is a choice about how to use moments that already exist. Life is full of small gaps. The minutes after waking up, the moments before sleep, the pauses between responsibilities, the way food is eaten, the way thoughts are handled during stress. Habits are built inside these moments. When used well, they slowly raise the quality of life without requiring more time, money, or energy than a person already has. The first step in building daily habits is understanding that consistency matters more than intensity. Doing something small every day creates trust with oneself. Each time a person keeps a small promise, confidence grows quietly. The mind begins to believe that effort leads to results. This belief is essential because it becomes the foundation for bigger changes later. Without this internal trust, motivation collapses under pressure. Small actions protect that trust. A practical way to start is by choosing habits that are almost impossible to fail. This may sound counterintuitive, but success builds momentum. A habit that requires 10 minutes of focus is more sustainable than one that requires an hour. Reading 1 page a day builds the identity of a reader. Walking for 5 minutes builds the identity of someone who moves daily. Writing 1 sentence builds the identity of someone who reflects. These actions may seem insignificant, but identity is shaped through repetition, not intensity. When building a habit, the focus should not be on the result, but on the process. Many people quit because they measure progress incorrectly. They look for visible results too early. Instead, progress should be measured by consistency. If the habit was done today, progress was made. This mindset removes pressure and keeps the habit alive long enough to compound. Results arrive later, but only if the habit survives the early stage. Another key insight is that habits are built through environment more than willpower. Willpower is unreliable because it depends on energy and mood. Environment, however, silently guides behavior. A person who wants to drink more water places a bottle nearby. A person who wants to reduce distractions removes unnecessary notifications. A person who wants to think clearly keeps their space simple. Small changes in environment reduce friction and make good habits easier to repeat. Daily habits should also align with values. A habit that feels meaningless will not last. Even small actions need a reason. This reason does not need to be dramatic. It only needs to be honest. Improving health to feel more stable during the day. Improving focus to reduce stress. Improving self-control to respond calmly instead of reacting emotionally. When a habit is connected to a personal value, it feels grounded and purposeful. Many people underestimate how much their daily habits affect their emotional state. Simple habits like waking up at the same time, eating regular meals, and taking a few moments of silence each day create emotional stability. Chaos in daily behavior creates chaos in the mind. Order in daily habits creates calm. This calm makes it easier to make good decisions under pressure. A stoic approach to habits focuses on control. Not everything in life is controllable, but daily actions are. External events, opinions, and outcomes cannot be managed fully, but effort can. When attention is placed on what can be controlled each day, frustration decreases. A habit becomes an anchor in uncertainty. Even on difficult days, keeping a small habit provides a sense of direction and self-respect. One practical method for building habits is to attach them to existing routines. This removes the need to remember. For example, after brushing teeth, spend 1 minute planning the day. After eating, take a short walk. Before sleeping, reflect on one lesson learned. By linking habits to routines that already exist, consistency becomes easier and more automatic. Another important principle is patience. Habits do not feel rewarding at first. The early stage often feels boring. This is normal. The mind is accustomed to quick rewards. Growth habits offer delayed rewards. Accepting this delay is part of maturity. Each repetition strengthens the habit even when no reward is felt. Over time, the habit itself becomes satisfying because it represents discipline and self-respect. Many people struggle because they try to change too many habits at once. This spreads attention thin and increases the chance of failure. A better approach is to focus on one habit at a time. When that habit feels stable, another can be added. This builds a strong foundation instead of a fragile structure. Growth should feel steady, not chaotic. It is also important to recognize that missing a day does not mean failure. What matters is returning the next day without self-criticism. Harsh self-talk weakens discipline. Calm correction strengthens it. A stoic mindset treats mistakes as feedback, not personal flaws. When a habit is missed, the response should be simple and direct. Resume the habit the next opportunity without emotional weight. Daily habits shape how a person responds to challenges. Someone who practices calm breathing daily will handle stress better. Someone who reflects daily will make better decisions. Someone who moves daily will feel more energy. These habits do not eliminate problems, but they increase resilience. Resilience is built through repeated exposure to small challenges, not by avoiding difficulty. A powerful habit to develop early is awareness of actions. Many behaviors are automatic: eating without noticing, scrolling without intention, reacting without thinking. Awareness creates space between impulse and action. This space is where growth happens. A simple habit like pausing before responding or taking one breath before acting can change the direction of a day. Building habits also requires honesty. If a habit is repeatedly avoided, it may be too large or poorly designed. Adjusting the habit is not quitting. It is strategic refinement. Growth requires flexibility. The goal is not to impress but to progress. Daily habits should support energy, not drain it. Habits that exhaust the mind or body will not last. A habit should feel supportive even when effort is required. This balance keeps the habit sustainable over time. Another overlooked aspect is recovery. Growth is not only about doing more. It is also about resting intentionally. A habit of proper sleep, short breaks or mental pauses improves long-term performance. Discipline includes rest because rest preserves clarity and control. As habits accumulate, they begin to interact. Small improvements in sleep improve focus. Improved focus improves decision-making. Better decisions improve emotional control. This creates a positive cycle. The opposite is also true. Poor habits create negative cycles. This is why starting small matters. Small habits can shift the direction of life gradually but powerfully. A person who commits to daily habits also learns humility. Growth reveals limitations and imperfections. This awareness is not discouraging, it is grounding. It prevents arrogance and encourages learning. Every day becomes an opportunity to improve slightly rather than prove worth. The role of discipline in habits is often misunderstood. Discipline is not harsh control, it is gentle persistence. It is showing up even when conditions are not ideal. Discipline grows stronger through use. Each day a habit is practiced despite low motivation. Discipline becomes more reliable. Motivation should not be the foundation of habits. Motivation fluctuates. Habits should function even when motivation is absent. This is why habits must be simple. On difficult days, a small habit is still possible. This keeps momentum alive. Daily habits also shape self-image. A person begins to see themselves as capable, reliable, and disciplined. This identity influences future behavior. Actions reinforce identity, and identity reinforces actions. This loop is powerful and should be built carefully. Another practical insight is to reduce decision fatigue. Too many choices drain energy. Habits reduce choices by creating defaults. When a habit exists, no decision is required. This preserves mental energy for important matters. Habits should be reviewed occasionally. Life changes. A habit that was helpful may become less relevant. Reflection allows adjustment. This keeps habits aligned with current needs and goals. A daily habit of reflection is especially valuable. Taking a few moments to review actions builds wisdom. This habit improves judgment and self-control. It encourages responsibility without blame. Small actions also build courage. Doing something uncomfortable daily reduces fear over time. Courage grows through exposure, not avoidance. Habits that challenge comfort slightly each day build strength quietly. Building habits is not about control over life, but about cooperation with reality. Life will always include uncertainty. Habits provide stability within that uncertainty. They are anchors, not chains. A person who builds daily habits understands that growth is a long-term commitment. There is no finish line. The goal is not completion, but continuation. This mindset removes pressure and allows steady progress. Each day offers a choice. Repeat old patterns or practice small improvements. This choice is always available. No special conditions are required. When daily habits are built with patience, honesty, and simplicity, life begins to change in subtle ways. Stress decreases, confidence grows, focus improves. These changes may not be dramatic, but they are lasting. The power of growing 1% every day lies in its realism. It respects human limitations while encouraging responsibility. It replaces pressure with consistency. It transforms ambition into daily practice. By committing to small actions, a person builds a life that feels stable, intentional, and meaningful. Not because of grand achievements, but because of quiet discipline. This discipline becomes a source of strength. Growth does not require waiting for the right moment. It begins now with the next small action. When this action is repeated daily, it becomes a habit. When habits accumulate, they shape destiny. The true measure of progress is not how fast change happens, but how consistently effort is applied. Each day offers a chance to practice that effort. Building daily habits through small actions is not a strategy for quick success. It is a way of living, a way that honors patience, discipline, and self-respect. Those who commit to this path may not see immediate results, but they will feel something more important. A sense of direction, a sense of control, a sense of quiet confidence that grows stronger with time. This is how lives change, not through sudden transformation, but through daily commitment to small improvements that compound into lasting strength. Chapter 2: How to commit to consistent effort, even when motivation feels low. Motivation is often treated as the fuel for progress, but in reality it is unreliable and short-lived. Some days it appears naturally, bringing energy and confidence, while on other days it disappears without warning. If effort depends on motivation, growth becomes unstable. This chapter focuses on a more dependable force: consistent effort. Consistency does not rely on how a person feels. It relies on commitment, clarity, and discipline. When effort continues even during low motivation, progress becomes inevitable. Low motivation is not a flaw or a weakness. It is a normal human experience. Energy levels change. Emotions shift. Circumstances create pressure and distraction. Expecting to feel inspired every day creates unnecessary frustration. A disciplined mindset accepts low motivation as part of the process rather than a reason to stop. The question is not how to feel motivated, but how to act despite not feeling motivated. Effort that continues during low motivation builds inner strength. Each time action is taken without emotional support, self-respect increases. This quiet confidence is different from excitement. It is steady and reliable. It teaches the mind that action is possible even when conditions are imperfect. Over time, this belief becomes deeply rooted. One practical approach is to redefine success. On days with high motivation, effort feels easy and productive. On days with low motivation, success should be defined as showing up. Completing a reduced version of the task still counts. This approach prevents the all or nothing mindset that leads to quitting. Progress continues because effort adapts instead of stopping. Consistency is not about pushing at maximum intensity. It is about maintaining movement. Even slow progress keeps direction. Stopping completely breaks momentum and makes restarting harder. A small effort preserves rhythm. Rhythm matters more than speed in long-term growth. A Stoic perspective emphasizes control over actions, not feelings. Feelings are temporary and influenced by many factors outside control. Actions are deliberate and chosen. By focusing on what can be controlled, emotional turbulence loses power. Effort becomes an expression of values rather than mood. Another important insight is that motivation often follows action, not the other way around. Waiting to feel ready delays progress. Beginning a task, even with reluctance, often creates momentum. The mind adjusts once action starts. This is why starting small is effective. A few minutes of effort can break resistance and restore focus. Planning for low motivation is essential. Many people prepare only for ideal conditions. A wiser strategy prepares for difficult days. This includes simplifying tasks, lowering expectations temporarily, and removing unnecessary friction. When effort feels heavy, the goal should be continuation, not perfection. A consistent effort also requires forgiveness. There will be days when effort is missed. Self-criticism weakens discipline. Calm acknowledgement preserves it. Returning to effort without emotional drama keeps progress stable. Growth is damaged more by harsh self-judgment than by occasional failure. Effort during low motivation builds resilience. Resilience is not about enduring extreme hardship. It is about maintaining responsibility during ordinary discomfort. Each time effort is sustained despite resistance, tolerance for discomfort increases. This makes future challenges easier to handle. Discipline grows through repetition. It is strengthened by use, not by intention alone. Each day effort is applied without reliance on motivation. Discipline becomes more dependable. This reliability reduces anxiety because progress no longer feels fragile. A useful practice is separating identity from feelings. Feeling unmotivated does not mean being uncommitted. Feeling tired does not mean being incapable. Feelings describe a moment, not a person. Effort expresses identity more accurately than emotion. Another practical strategy is creating minimum standards. These standards define the smallest acceptable effort. On difficult days, meeting the minimum is enough. This prevents complete disengagement. Over time, minimum standards often increase naturally as confidence grows. Consistency also benefits mental clarity. When effort is habitual, fewer decisions are required. This reduces mental fatigue. Effort becomes automatic rather than debated internally. This automation protects energy and focus. Low motivation often signals deeper needs such as rest, simplicity, or clarity. Consistent effort should not ignore these signals but respond wisely. Adjusting effort does not mean abandoning it. Listening without surrendering maintains balance. Effort builds trust with oneself. Each kept commitment strengthens self-belief. This belief becomes a source of stability during uncertainty. Confidence based on consistency is quieter, but stronger than confidence based on emotion. Another key point is that effort does not need to feel meaningful every day. Some days will feel repetitive or dull. Accepting this reality prevents disappointment. purpose is sustained through long-term vision, not daily excitement. Consistent effort also improves emotional regulation. Acting despite low motivation teaches patience and restraint. This skill extends beyond personal growth into relationships and work. Calm persistence earns respect, both internally and externally. A disciplined routine reduces reliance on inspiration. Inspiration becomes a bonus rather than a requirement. This shift creates independence. Progress no longer waits for ideal conditions. Effort also clarifies priorities. When time and energy are limited, consistent effort reveals what truly matters. Excuses fade, and responsibility becomes clear. This clarity strengthens character. There is strength in quiet repetition. Loud ambition fades quickly. Silent discipline endures. The ability to continue without applause or excitement builds integrity. Integrity forms the backbone of meaningful success. Consistent effort transforms setbacks into lessons. Each challenge becomes information rather than defeat. This perspective reduces fear of failure. Action continues because failure no longer threatens identity. A simple way to reinforce consistency is tracking effort, not outcomes. Marking days when effort was applied builds awareness and accountability. This practice shifts focus from results to behavior, which is controllable. Effort during low motivation also sharpens focus. Distractions lose appeal when commitment is clear. Time is used more intentionally. This efficiency compounds over time. Another important aspect is patience with progress. Results appear gradually. Impatience creates pressure that weakens effort. Trusting the process preserves calm and persistence. Consistency creates momentum that carries effort forward even when motivation dips. Momentum is fragile at first, but strengthens with time. Protecting it requires humility and discipline. Effort is an expression of self-respect. It reflects a decision to honor commitments regardless of comfort. This respect becomes visible in posture, speech, and choices. It influences how others respond as well. Low motivation days are opportunities to strengthen character. They reveal commitment more clearly than motivated days. Effort during these times defines growth. A life built on consistent effort feels stable. Emotional highs and lows no longer control direction. Progress continues steadily. This stability reduces stress and increases confidence. The practice of consistent effort also teaches realism. Expectations become grounded. Goals become achievable. Growth feels manageable rather than overwhelming. Each day effort is applied without motivation. A quiet victory occurs. These victories accumulate. Over time, they create a strong foundation. The goal is not to eliminate low motivation, but to move forward regardless. This approach respects reality and empowers action. Consistent effort is the bridge between intention and transformation. It does not depend on inspiration. It depends on choice. By committing to effort even when motivation feels low, a person builds a life driven by discipline rather than emotion. This discipline becomes freedom. Freedom from hesitation. Freedom from inconsistency. Freedom to grow steadily. This is how progress becomes reliable. Not through feeling ready, but through acting responsibly. Each day offers that choice. When effort is chosen repeatedly, growth becomes unavoidable. Chapter 3C designs simple routines that support focus, energy, and discipline. A focused and disciplined life is rarely the result of talent or intensity. It is usually the outcome of simple routines repeated with care. Many people believe they lack focus or discipline, but what they actually lack is structure. The mind performs best when it knows what comes next. When daily life feels scattered, energy leaks away through indecision, distraction, and constant adjustment. Simple routines create order, and order protects focus and energy. A routine is not meant to restrict life. It is meant to support it. When designed correctly, a routine reduces mental effort rather than increasing it. Each repeated action removes the need to decide again. This preserves mental strength for meaningful work and thoughtful choices. Discipline becomes less about forcing behavior and more about following a familiar path. Focus begins with clarity. When the day has no structure, attention jumps from one thing to another. This constant switching drains energy. A simple routine gives the mind a clear direction. It answers basic questions in advance. When to start the day, when to work, when to rest. When these decisions are settled, the mind relaxes. Focus improves because confusion is removed. Energy is closely tied to rhythm. The body and mind respond well to predictable patterns. Sleeping and waking at consistent times stabilizes energy levels. Eating regular meals prevents sharp drops in attention. Taking short breaks at planned intervals protects concentration. These routines may seem ordinary, but their impact is significant. Stability creates endurance. Many routines fail because they are too complex. Complexity creates resistance. A routine should feel easy to follow even on difficult days. Simplicity is not weakness, it is strength. A simple routine survives stress. A complicated routine collapses under pressure. A practical way to design a routine is to begin with anchors. Anchors are actions that happen at roughly the same time every day. Waking up, eating, working, and sleeping are natural anchors. Attaching focused activities to these anchors increases consistency. For example, a short planning moment after waking, focused work after breakfast, reflection before sleep. These connections make routines automatic. Discipline grows when effort is predictable. When the mind knows that a certain action happens at a certain time, resistance decreases. Discipline no longer feels like a decision. It becomes a pattern. Patterns shape behavior more reliably than motivation. A routine should support priorities, not overwhelm them. Many people try to improve everything at once. This creates overload. A better approach is to choose a few key actions that support focus and energy. These actions should be clearly defined and limited in number. Doing less with consistency produces better results than doing more inconsistently. Focus is also protected by boundaries. A routine defines when to work and when to stop. Without boundaries, work expands endlessly and drains energy. Knowing when effort ends allows the mind to fully engage during work periods. Rest becomes more effective because it is intentional. Another important aspect of routine design is managing distractions. Focus cannot survive constant interruption. A routine should include periods where distractions are reduced. This may involve silencing notifications, clearing the workspace, or choosing a quiet environment. These choices support attention without requiring willpower. Energy is also influenced by how transitions are handled. Moving abruptly from one task to another strains attention. Simple transition rituals help the mind reset. Taking a few breaths before starting work or standing up briefly between tasks improves focus. These small actions preserve energy throughout the day. Discipline benefits from visible structure. Writing down a routine makes it concrete. It removes ambiguity. A written routine acts as a guide when attention drifts. It does not need to be detailed. Clear and simple is enough. A Stoic approach values consistency over comfort. A routine should function regardless of mood. It should be flexible enough to adapt but stable enough to guide. This balance prevents both rigidity and chaos. Another important principle is aligning routines with natural energy patterns. Most people have times of higher and lower focus. Placing demanding tasks during high energy periods improves efficiency. Lighter tasks can be reserved for lower energy times. This respects the body rather than fighting it. Discipline is strengthened when routines are followed even when conditions are not ideal. This does not mean ignoring exhaustion or illness. It means maintaining the core structure whenever possible. Even a reduced version of a routine preserves continuity. Routines also reduce stress by creating predictability. When the mind knows what to expect, anxiety decreases. This calm state improves decision-making and emotional control. Stress often comes from uncertainty rather than workload. A routine should include moments of stillness. Constant activity exhausts attention. Short periods of quiet allow the mind to reset. This may involve sitting silently, breathing slowly, or simply pausing. These moments improve clarity and patience. Another key factor is starting the day with intention. The first actions of the day set the tone. A rushed or reactive start scatters focus. A calm and deliberate start stabilizes it. This does not require long rituals. Even a few minutes of order can change the direction of the day. Ending the day with intention is equally important. A simple closing routine signals completion. Reflecting briefly on the day or preparing for tomorrow creates mental closure. This improves sleep quality and reduces lingering stress. Routines should evolve with experience. What works at one stage may need adjustment later. Reviewing routines periodically keeps them relevant. This review should be practical, not emotional. The question is whether the routine supports focus and energy effectively. Discipline is reinforced when routines are respected. Skipping routines without reason weakens their authority. However, flexibility remains important. The goal is reliability, not rigidity. Simple routines also protect against decision fatigue. When basic actions are automatic, mental energy is preserved for complex problems. This improves performance and reduces frustration. Focus improves when the environment matches the routine. A dedicated workspace signals concentration. A consistent sleep environment signals rest. These cues train the mind through repetition. Energy is preserved when routines include movement. Short walks, stretching, or posture changes improve circulation and alertness. These actions require little time but offer noticeable benefits. Discipline grows when routines are realistic. Overestimating capacity leads to burnout. Honest routines respect current limits while encouraging gradual growth. Another benefit of routines is identity reinforcement. Following a routine builds the identity of someone disciplined and focused. This identity influences future behavior naturally. Routines also create momentum. Starting becomes easier when actions are familiar. This momentum carries effort forward even on difficult days. Focus is sharpened by eliminating unnecessary tasks. A routine should prioritize what matters. Removing low-value activities protects attention. Energy improves when routines include nourishment. Regular meals and hydration stabilize physical and mental performance. Neglecting these basics undermines discipline. A well-designed routine simplifies life. It reduces chaos. It supports clarity. It creates space for growth. Discipline does not mean harsh control. It means steady structure. Routines provide that structure without force. Each day lived through simple routines becomes more intentional. Attention is directed. Energy is protected. Discipline strengthens quietly. Over time, these routines shape character. They build reliability. They build calm strength. The purpose of designing simple routines is not to control every moment, but to support what matters most. Focus becomes easier, energy becomes steadier, discipline becomes natural. This is how consistency is sustained. Not through pressure, but through structure. When routines are simple and aligned, growth continues without struggle. A life guided by simple routines feels grounded. Progress becomes steady. The mind becomes clear. This is the quiet power of routine. It does not demand attention. It earns results through repetition. When focus, energy, and discipline are supported daily, effort becomes more effective. Growth becomes sustainable. This approach does not rely on motivation. It relies on design, and good design lasts. By shaping daily routines with simplicity and intention, a person builds a stable foundation for long-term improvement. Each day becomes manageable. Each effort becomes meaningful. Growth becomes a natural outcome rather than a constant struggle. Chapter 40. Practice self-awareness daily to correct mistakes early. Most mistakes do not ruin lives because of their size. They cause damage because they go unnoticed for too long. Small errors repeated daily become habits, and habits shape direction. Self-awareness is the skill that stops this process early. It allows a person to notice patterns, question reactions, and adjust behavior before consequences grow heavy. Practicing self-awareness every day is not about judging oneself. It is about seeing clearly and acting responsibly. Self-awareness begins with attention. Many people move through their days on automatic mode. They wake up, react, speak, work, and rest without noticing why they do what they do. When awareness is absent, mistakes repeat quietly. Awareness brings actions into the light. Once seen, a behavior can be changed. What remains unseen continues unchecked. Daily self-awareness does not require deep analysis or long reflection. It starts with simple observation, noticing tone of voice, noticing emotional shifts, noticing moments of avoidance or tension. These small observations reveal much about inner habits. The goal is not to control every thought, but to recognize patterns early. A Stoic mindset values awareness because it separates what can be controlled from what cannot. Thoughts appear without permission, but responses are chosen. Awareness creates the pause needed to choose wisely. Without that pause, reactions dominate behavior. One of the most practical ways to build self-awareness is through regular check-ins. Asking simple questions during the day improves clarity. Am I focused or distracted? Am I calm or reactive? Am I acting from intention or impulse? These questions do not require answers immediately. They simply bring attention back to the present moment. Mistakes often begin emotionally before they become behavioral. Irritation leads to sharp words. Fatigue leads to avoidance. Pride leads to defensiveness. Awareness catches these signals early. Recognizing emotional shifts allows correction before damage occurs. Self-awareness also involves noticing physical signals. Tension in the body often reflects mental strain. Shallow breathing signals stress. Restlessness signals lack of focus. These cues offer guidance. Ignoring them leads to exhaustion and poor decisions. Another key element of awareness is recognizing excuses as they form. Excuses often appear reasonable at first. Awareness exposes them gently. This does not mean forcing action immediately, but acknowledging avoidance honestly. Honesty restores responsibility. Daily awareness improves relationships. Many conflicts escalate because reactions go unchecked. Awareness notices rising emotion and creates space. A pause prevents regretful words. Calm response preserves trust. Self-awareness is not self-criticism. Criticism narrows focus and weakens confidence. Awareness broadens understanding and encourages improvement. The tone matters. Observation should be calm and neutral. Judgment clouds clarity. A simple daily practice is reviewing actions at the end of the day, not listing failures, but noticing patterns. Where energy dropped, where patience was tested, where effort was avoided. This review is not about blame. It is about learning. Correcting mistakes early saves energy. Fixing small issues requires less effort than repairing major consequences. Awareness is efficient. It reduces wasted time and emotional strain. Another benefit of self-awareness is improved decision-making. When motives are clear, choices become aligned with values. Decisions made unconsciously often conflict with long-term goals. Awareness aligns behavior with intention. Awareness also strengthens discipline. When lapses are noticed quickly, habits are corrected before they weaken. A missed action becomes a reminder rather than a pattern. This keeps routines intact. Many people avoid self-awareness because they fear discomfort. Seeing mistakes can feel uncomfortable. However, discomfort is brief. Ignoring mistakes creates lasting problems. Awareness trades short discomfort for long-term stability. Self-awareness also reveals strengths. Noticing moments of patience, focus, or courage builds confidence. Growth is supported by recognizing what works, not only what fails. Practicing awareness requires slowing down slightly. Constant speed hides mistakes. A measured pace allows observation. This does not mean inactivity. It means mindful movement. A helpful approach is labeling experiences internally. Naming emotions or reactions reduces their intensity. Recognizing anger as anger or distraction as distraction restores control. Naming clarifies. Awareness improves emotional regulation. When emotions are recognized early, they are easier to manage. Suppressed emotions often surface later in harmful ways. Awareness allows healthy response. Another important aspect is awareness of thoughts. Thoughts influence actions. Many thoughts are assumptions or fears. Awareness questions their accuracy. This prevents unnecessary stress and poor decisions. Self-awareness also supports resilience. Understanding personal limits prevents burnout. Recognizing fatigue encourages rest. This balance preserves long-term effort. A daily habit of awareness builds wisdom gradually. Each observation adds understanding. Over time, reactions soften, decisions improve, behavior aligns with values. Awareness also reduces regret. When actions are chosen consciously, outcomes feel owned. Even mistakes become learning experiences rather than sources of shame. Practicing awareness requires patience. The mind wanders. Attention drifts. This is normal. Awareness grows through repetition, not force. Another practical method is pausing before responding. A brief pause interrupts automatic reactions. This pause allows choice. Choice strengthens character. Self-awareness also clarifies priorities. When distractions are noticed, focus can be redirected. This improves productivity without added pressure. Awareness of habits reveals hidden influences. Noticing how environment affects behavior enables better design. This improves consistency. Daily awareness also deepens self-respect. Taking responsibility for actions builds integrity. Integrity strengthens confidence. Awareness helps identify early warning signs. Stress buildup, loss of focus, irritability. These signs guide adjustment before collapse occurs. Another benefit is improved learning. Mistakes identified early provide feedback. Feedback improves skill. Ignoring feedback slows progress. Self-awareness also supports honesty in goals. Unrealistic expectations are noticed and adjusted. This prevents discouragement. Awareness encourages humility. Recognizing limitations opens space for growth. Humility strengthens resilience. Practicing awareness daily creates a habit of reflection. Reflection transforms experience into wisdom. This practice does not require isolation. It can happen during ordinary activities, walking, eating, working. Awareness integrates into life. Over time, awareness becomes natural. The mind observes without effort. This observation guides action quietly. Correcting mistakes early preserves direction. Small adjustments keep progress steady. A life guided by awareness feels intentional. Choices feel deliberate. Reactions feel controlled. This skill protects against drifting. Without awareness, days blur together. With awareness, each day teaches something. Self-awareness strengthens accountability. Responsibility becomes internal rather than external. This practice builds calm strength. Calm strength supports growth. The goal is not perfection. It is responsiveness, seeing clearly and adjusting promptly. Daily self-awareness turns life into a continuous learning process. Learning sustains growth. When awareness becomes consistent, mistakes lose power. They become signals, not setbacks. This is how growth becomes efficient, not through avoiding error, but through early correction. By practicing self-awareness daily, a person stays aligned with values, corrects course early, and builds steady progress. This awareness becomes a guide, quiet, reliable, present. Through it, discipline deepens, wisdom grows, life improves through attention and responsibility. This is the power of awareness practiced daily. Chapter 5. Track progress honestly to build confidence and clarity. Tracking progress with honesty changes the way people work and live because it replaces vague hope with clear evidence and steady direction. Measuring progress is not about creating pressure or chasing numbers for their own sake. It is about using accurate information to build trust in your effort and to make better choices. When progress is tracked honestly, the noise of wishful thinking falls away, and what remains is usable data that guides simple decisions. Start by choosing what matters most. Too many things measured at once creates confusion. Select 2 or 3 indicators that directly connect to the behavior being developed. If the goal is better focus, pick a metric like uninterrupted work sessions completed. If the goal is improved fitness, pick number of sessions or minutes moved. If the goal is improved writing, choose words written or time spent writing. The right metric reflects the process rather than a distant result. Process metrics are controllable and therefore useful. Keep measurements simple and consistent. Complicated systems break down quickly. A clear checklist in a notebook or a single column in a daily planner becomes more reliable than an elaborate spreadsheet that is never opened. Record the same information at the same time each day. Consistency in measurement builds a record that can be reviewed without effort and without bias. Be honest with entries. There is value in accurate records even when they show slippage. It is better to record shorter sessions, missed workouts, or skipped steps than to hide or inflate numbers. Honest tracking exposes real patterns and makes it possible to correct course early. When the record is trustworthy, the mind begins to accept the truth and decisions become cleaner. Use short reviews to translate data into action. A brief weekly check of recorded entries is more useful than daily agonizing over numbers. During a weekly review, note trends, anomalies, and points of friction. Ask simple questions. What improved this week? Where did energy drop? Which conditions encouraged consistency? These observations point to practical adjustments that take little time to implement. Create minimum acceptable standards and record whether they were met. Defining the smallest acceptable effort prevents paralysis on low motivation days. A minimum might be 5 minutes of focused work or a short walk. Marking whether the minimum was met builds a baseline of reliability and reduces the temptation to skip entirely when conditions are difficult. Avoid confusing business with progress. Tracking clarifies whether time is used effectively. 2 hours of distracted work will often produce less value than a focused 30-minute session. When metrics are honest, the difference becomes visible and choices change naturally. Measure the outputs that matter, not just time spent. Use comparisons that inform but do not punish. Compare current performance to a recent baseline rather than to an idealized future state. Small improvements compared to last week are meaningful and sustainable. Comparing to a distant goal often demoralizes because early progress is modest by design. A weekly or monthly baseline comparison gives perspective and encourages steady improvement. Celebrate competence rather than outcome. Confidence grows when ability is visible in the record. Celebrate the day the routine was kept when tired or the time the work was concentrated without distraction. These wins are signals that skill and habit are forming. Recognize and mark them honestly without exaggeration. Guard against vanity metrics that look good but do not move the needle. Tracking social likes or a long list of tasks completed can feel productive while real progress is stalled. If a metric does not directly support the desired change, drop it. Simplicity and relevance matter more than quantity of tracked items. Design measurement systems that reduce friction. The easier it is to record, the more likely it will be done. A single column checklist in the morning pages, a quick tally on a phone, or using a physical calendar with a mark for each success are all acceptable when they are practical. Avoid systems that require elaborate input unless the value they provide is clearly greater than the effort required to maintain them. Use visual cues that encourage consistency without depending on mood. A visible calendar with daily marks creates subtle accountability. A simple chart that shows a rising trend provides motivation grounded in reality. These cues are not tricks. They are reminders of which actions were taken and which were not. Invite an external perspective when necessary. Sometimes honest tracking is easier with a partner or a mentor who asks about the record and offers feedback. Accountability partners do not need to micromanage. They can simply review entries and ask clarifying questions that lead to reflection and adjustment. Make decisions from data, not from excuses. When the record shows a pattern such as fatigue after long meetings or distraction in the afternoon, use that information to adapt. Move demanding tasks to a different time, reduce meeting density, or adjust meal patterns. Small structural changes informed by honest tracking compound into meaningful gains. Allow the record to drive small experiments. Try a change for a week and track the result. If focus improves or energy stabilizes, keep it. If not, revert and try another adjustment. Framing improvements as short experiments reduces fear of failure and speeds learning. Track effort, not identity. Recording what was done keeps the focus on behavior rather than on self-judgment. Missing a target becomes an item to address, not a verdict on worth. This framing preserves resilience and encourages continuing action. Be careful with comparisons to others. Use other people's progress as information, not as a benchmark that determines self-value. Every path has different constraints and resources. Honest tracking is about personal clarity and personal growth. Use language in the record that is neutral and descriptive rather than moralizing. Note what happened and when without attaching blame. Descriptions like 2 focused sessions completed or walk skipped due to evening meeting provide clarity without emotional charge. Clear descriptions allow clear responses. Keep a short list of corrective actions accessible. When the record exposes a problem, the next step should be obvious. If sleep is inconsistent, the corrective action might be to set a fixed bedtime. If focus drops after lunch, the corrective action might be a 10-minute walk before returning to work. These interventions should be simple and testable. Track energy and mood as part of the record. Behavioral data alone can miss underlying causes. Noting overall energy level and stress can reveal connections between physical state and performance. Over time, patterns emerge and allow targeted adjustments. Accept that some days will be worse and record them anyway. A string of poor entries is information, not a catastrophe. Honest tracking prevents catastrophizing by turning emotion into data. When the data accumulates, the proportion of good days typically grows because small corrections are applied. Cultivate patience with trends. Meaningful change shows up gradually. The record may appear flat at first, but small upward shifts often precede larger gains. Trust the process without needing immediate proof. The discipline of recording daily builds compounding effects that are visible in time. Use questions to extract lessons from the record. What conditions led to better focus? Which small change created momentum? And which task consistently drained energy? Questions like these are more valuable than blame and lead directly to action. Avoid perfectionism in the record. A missed entry is not a reason to stop. Keep the system simple enough to re-engage quickly. Restarting the habit of tracking after a lapse is itself an important step and should be recorded as progress. Align rewards with honesty. When the record shows sustained effort, allow a small reward that reinforces behavior. This could be time for a preferred activity or a modest treat. Rewards should confirm effort, not replace it. Protect your record from distortion. Be consistent about definitions and measurement windows. If days are recorded differently or standards shift unconsciously, the data loses meaning. Maintain steady definitions so that comparisons remain valid. Use the record to build confidence through competence. Confidence that rests on solid evidence is reliable. When the record shows repeated small wins, confidence becomes a byproduct of real ability rather than wishful thinking. Periodically archive and reflect on longer spans. Monthly or quarterly reviews reveal trends that daily reviews miss. These sessions should be calm, concise, and focused on lessons and necessary changes. Finally, accept that honest tracking is a discipline that supports freedom. The clarity it provides reduces anxiety and creates room for deliberate choices. When decisions are based on reality rather than on guesswork, the path forward is simpler and more effective. Tracking progress honestly is not about proving worth. It is about cultivating clarity, sustaining effort, and building confidence through real evidence. Over time, a clear record becomes a private testimony to steady work and quiet growth. Keep the record simple, keep it honest, and let the data guide the next small step. Chapter 6a. Replace excuses with small actions you can repeat daily. Excuses are rarely obvious at first. They often sound reasonable and even responsible. They point to lack of time, low energy, unclear conditions, or the need to wait for a better moment. These explanations feel harmless, yet over time they quietly block progress. What makes excuses powerful is not that they are lies, but that they delay action just enough for habits to weaken. The solution is not arguing with excuses or feeling guilty about them. The solution is replacing them with small actions that can be repeated daily. An excuse thrives when a task feels too large. The mind looks for relief from pressure and finds it in delay. Small actions remove that pressure. When an action is small enough, the excuse loses its grip. There is nothing to wait for, nothing to prepare, nothing to justify. Action becomes simple and immediate. Replacing excuses begins with recognizing their pattern. Excuses usually appear before effort, not after. They arise the moment commitment is required. Awareness of this timing matters. When an excuse appears, it signals a moment of choice. That moment can be used to act instead of explain. Small actions are powerful because they shift identity. An excuse says this is not the right time. A small action says effort is possible now. Repeating that choice daily builds a new self-image. A person begins to see themselves as someone who acts instead of postpones. Many people wait for confidence before acting. This order is backward. Confidence grows from action. Small actions generate evidence of capability. That evidence reduces the need for excuses. Over time, excuses fade because they no longer match reality. A practical approach is to define actions that require minimal effort but still move things forward. Writing one sentence, stretching for 2 minutes, reviewing one page, making one call. These actions are not impressive, but they are repeatable. Repeatability matters more than intensity. Excuses often hide fear, fear of failure, fear of discomfort, fear of not meeting expectations. Small actions reduce exposure to fear. They allow progress without overwhelming emotion. This builds tolerance for discomfort gradually. Another important shift is changing the question asked in moments of resistance. Instead of asking whether the task can be completed fully, ask what is the smallest step that can be done now. This question bypasses the excuse and points directly to action. Daily repetition strengthens discipline. Discipline is not built through heroic effort. It is built through consistent follow-through. Each small action reinforces the habit of acting. Over time, this habit becomes automatic. Excuses also thrive in ambiguity. When the next step is unclear, the mind delays. Clear small actions remove ambiguity. Knowing exactly what to do reduces hesitation. Clarity supports momentum. Replacing excuses requires honesty without harshness. Noticing an excuse does not require self-criticism. A calm acknowledgement is enough. This keeps emotional energy intact and preserves focus. Small actions protect momentum. Momentum does not require speed. It requires continuity. Skipping action breaks continuity. Small actions preserve it even on difficult days. Another benefit of small actions is that they fit into real life. Busy schedules, low energy, and unexpected events do not eliminate the ability to take a small step. This makes consistency realistic. Excuses often come from focusing too far ahead. The mind imagines the full workload and retreats. Small actions bring attention back to the present moment. Only the next step matters. Replacing excuses also improves self-trust. Each time action is taken despite resistance, trust grows. This trust reduces internal conflict. Decisions become easier. Small actions should be clearly defined. Vague intentions invite excuses. Specific actions invite execution. Knowing exactly what action to take removes debate. It is also important to remove unnecessary barriers. If an action requires too much setup, excuses appear. Preparing tools in advance makes action easier. Simplicity supports consistency. Another key point is separating effort from outcome. Small actions focus on effort only. This removes pressure to perform. Performance improves naturally over time. Excuses lose strength when progress is visible. Tracking small actions provides proof of effort. This proof weakens future excuses. Small actions also build patience. Growth slows down to a sustainable pace. This prevents burnout and frustration. Replacing excuses does not mean ignoring rest. Rest is not an excuse when it is intentional. The difference lies in honesty. Small actions clarify this difference. Daily repetition of small actions shapes habits. Habits reduce reliance on willpower. This makes progress more stable. Excuses often appear when motivation is low. Small actions function regardless of motivation. They keep effort alive during emotional dips. Another practical method is setting a daily minimum. The minimum defines success clearly. Meeting it counts. This prevents the excuse of needing perfect conditions. Small actions also encourage humility. They accept that growth takes time. This acceptance reduces pressure and comparison. Replacing excuses with action changes internal dialogue. Instead of explaining why something cannot be done, the mind looks for what can be done. This shift is powerful. Daily action also reduces regret. Even minimal effort prevents the feeling of wasted time. This improves emotional well-being. Excuses often protect comfort. Small actions introduce mild discomfort regularly. This builds tolerance and resilience. Another benefit is increased focus. Acting immediately reduces rumination. Action quiets overthinking. Small actions are flexible. They can be adjusted without breaking consistency. This adaptability supports long-term growth. Replacing excuses also improves accountability. Responsibility shifts inward. This strengthens character. Daily small actions compound. Individually they seem minor. Collectively they reshape life. Excuses rely on future promises. Action delivers present results. This grounds progress in reality. Consistency with small actions creates rhythm. Rhythm reduces resistance. Another important aspect is celebrating completion of small actions. Recognition reinforces behavior. This does not require reward, only acknowledgement. Small actions also build courage. Each action proves fear manageable. Replacing excuses requires commitment to honesty. Honest action replaces comfortable delay. Over time, excuses become easier to spot and easier to dismiss. Action becomes default. The goal is not to eliminate excuses completely. It is to prevent them from controlling behavior. Daily small actions shift control back to effort. This approach respects human limits while encouraging responsibility. Progress becomes steady instead of sporadic. Replacing excuses with repeatable actions creates momentum that lasts. Each day effort is chosen, growth continues. This practice builds quiet strength. Life improves not through dramatic change, but through daily action. Small actions repeated consistently replace excuses naturally. This is how discipline becomes simple. This is how growth becomes sustainable. By choosing small actions every day, excuses lose relevance, effort gains power, and progress becomes a natural outcome rather than a constant struggle. Chapter 7: Create an environment that makes good choices easier. Willpower is often praised as the key to self-control, yet it is one of the most fragile tools for change. It depends on mood, energy, and circumstance. When people rely on willpower alone, progress rises and falls without warning. A more reliable approach is shaping the environment so that good choices become the natural option. Environment influences behavior quietly but powerfully. When surroundings support intention, effort becomes easier and consistency increases. Every choice is affected by what is nearby and what is visible. When distractions are close, focus weakens. When healthy options are accessible, better decisions follow with less effort. This is not about weakness. It is about realism. The human mind responds to cues. Designing those cues wisely is a form of discipline. Creating a supportive environment begins with awareness. Notice what regularly pulls attention away. Notice what encourages poor habits. These influences are often subtle. A phone within reach, an open browser with distractions, clutter that creates tension. Awareness reveals where small changes can have large effects. One effective principle is reducing friction for good habits. If an action requires fewer steps, it happens more often. Keeping tools ready, preparing clothing in advance, organizing workspaces, these adjustments save energy and remove hesitation. When effort feels simple, consistency improves. At the same time, increase friction for habits that undermine goals. This does not require extreme measures. Small barriers are enough. Placing distractions out of reach, logging out of unnecessary accounts, keeping unhealthy options less accessible. These changes create a pause that allows choice to reappear. Environment also includes social influences. The people around you shape standards and behavior. Time spent with disciplined individuals encourages similar behavior. Exposure to negativity or constant distraction weakens focus. Choosing environments where effort is respected supports growth. Physical space affects mental state. A clean and organized space promotes calm and clarity. Disorder increases stress and reduces focus. Organization does not require perfection. It requires intention. Removing unnecessary items creates room for attention. Lighting, noise, and temperature also influence performance. Adequate light improves alertness. Reduced noise improves concentration. Comfortable temperature reduces fatigue. These factors are often ignored but have real impact on energy. Environment includes digital space as well. Notifications interrupt focus. Cluttered screens distract attention. Simplifying digital tools supports mental clarity. Turning off non-essential alerts protects deep work. A stoic perspective recognizes that external factors can be adjusted to support inner discipline. This is not avoidance of responsibility. It is strategic control, using what can be controlled to protect effort. Another important aspect is visibility. What is seen often is chosen often. Placing reminders of goals where they are visible reinforces intention. Keeping progress tracking tools accessible encourages use. Visibility directs behavior without force. Environment also influences mood. Calm surroundings reduce irritability. Natural light and simple decor support emotional balance. Mood affects decisions. Supporting mood supports better choices. Creating routines within the environment strengthens consistency. Designating specific areas for work, rest, and reflection trains the mind. When an area has a clear purpose, focus improves automatically. Food environment strongly affects behavior. Keeping nutritious options available encourages better eating. Reducing exposure to unhealthy choices reduces temptation. Planning meals in advance removes decision fatigue. Sleep environment matters deeply. A consistent sleep space signals rest. Removing stimulating elements improves sleep quality. Better sleep supports discipline across the day. Environment design is not about restriction. It is about alignment. Align surroundings with values. This alignment reduces internal conflict. Small environmental changes compound. Each adjustment removes a small barrier. Together they create a supportive system. Another key principle is simplicity. Too many tools or options create confusion. Simplifying choices reduces mental load. This improves decision quality. Environment also includes schedules. Structuring time supports energy. Predictable routines reduce stress. Time blocks protect focus. Social media environment deserves careful attention. Constant exposure to comparison and noise weakens focus. Limiting access supports mental clarity. A supportive environment also includes recovery spaces. Areas for rest and reflection preserve balance. Growth requires recovery. Environment influences identity. Living in a space designed for discipline reinforces the identity of someone disciplined. This identity supports future choices. Creating an environment that supports growth requires patience. Changes should be gradual. Sudden overhauls may not last. Reviewing the environment periodically ensures alignment with current goals. Life changes. Environment should adapt. Environmental design is an act of self-respect. It shows care for future effort. Another important factor is removing decision points. The fewer decisions required, the easier consistency becomes. Defaults matter. Environment also affects emotional responses. Calm surroundings reduce impulsive reactions. This supports better communication. A supportive environment reduces reliance on motivation. Behavior becomes guided by structure. Environment design also includes planning for challenges. Preparing in advance reduces stress during difficult moments. Good choices become easier when they are the obvious choice. This is the goal of environment design. Over time, a supportive environment feels natural. Effort becomes smoother. Resistance decreases. Discipline becomes less about force and more about flow. This approach respects human limits. It uses design instead of struggle. By shaping surroundings intentionally, progress becomes more reliable. The environment becomes a quiet partner in growth. Each small adjustment protects effort. Life improves through systems, not willpower. When the environment supports good choices, consistency follows. This is how discipline becomes sustainable. This is how effort lasts. Creating an environment that makes good choices easier turns growth into a daily practice rather than a daily battle. Chapter 80. Strengthen resilience by responding calmly to daily challenges. Resilience is not something people are simply born with. It is a skill developed over time through repeated experience and deliberate response. Daily challenges test patience, focus, and emotional control. The way these challenges are met determines whether energy is drained or preserved. Strengthening resilience begins with learning to respond calmly rather than reacting impulsively. Calm responses do not ignore difficulties. They acknowledge reality while choosing a deliberate path forward. This approach converts obstacles into opportunities for growth instead of sources of frustration. The first step in developing calm resilience is observation. Notice how you react when problems appear. Do emotions surge and drive immediate action? Do tension and irritation accumulate? Awareness of automatic reactions is essential. Recognizing these patterns allows the pause that makes calm response possible. Without awareness, reaction is automatic and often counterproductive. Calmness requires seeing the situation clearly before acting. Emotional control is central to resilience. Intense emotions consume energy and cloud judgment. Learning to separate emotion from action provides clarity. Emotions are signals, not commands. A strong reaction signals that the mind is invested, but the next step can still be chosen rationally. Training the mind to accept emotion without being driven by it strengthens inner stability. Daily challenges are opportunities to practice this skill. Minor setbacks, interruptions, and disagreements serve as repeated exercises. Each situation presents a chance to pause, assess, and respond with intention. Practicing calm responses in small scenarios builds the ability to handle larger problems without being overwhelmed. Small experiences accumulate into durable strength. Breathing and physical awareness are practical tools to support calmness. A few deep breaths reduce tension and reset focus. Noticing physical tension, posture, or facial expressions gives insight into internal states. These subtle adjustments create space between stimulus and reaction. This space is the foundation for rational choice. Another critical element is perspective. Recognizing that most daily challenges are temporary reduces urgency and emotional intensity. Seeing problems as specific and manageable rather than overwhelming shifts the response from panic to deliberate action. Perspective prevents energy from being wasted on exaggerated worry or imagined consequences. Language also shapes resilience. The words used internally influence mindset. Describing events neutrally instead of catastrophically supports calm. Statements like, "This is inconvenient, not disastrous," or "I can handle this step by step," reduce the emotional load and create a clear path forward. Thought patterns affect behavior. Choosing language carefully strengthens response. Preparation strengthens calm responses. Anticipating predictable difficulties and planning reactions reduces stress. Simple pre-decisions about how to respond to common challenges conserve mental energy. When something predictable occurs, the mind does not need to react from emotion, but can follow a pre-considered course. Resilience benefits from maintaining routines and structure. Routines create stability that protects against emotional fluctuation. When basic habits of sleep, nutrition, and focus are maintained, the mind is less reactive. Stability provides a foundation from which calm response is easier to achieve. Reflection strengthens learning from challenges. Reviewing how situations were handled, noting what worked and what could improve, and adjusting behavior reinforces resilience. Reflection is not judgment, it is analysis. Learning from minor challenges prepares the mind for future obstacles and builds confidence in one's ability to respond effectively. Patience is closely linked to resilience. Many challenges appear difficult because immediate results are expected. Deliberate pacing allows energy to be preserved and solutions to emerge without forcing action. Calmness and patience reinforce each other. Acting too quickly often creates new problems, while measured action prevents compounding difficulties. Resilient individuals also recognize limits. Calm response does not mean ignoring fatigue, hunger, or lack of information. It means adjusting effort and expectations appropriately while maintaining stability. Accepting limits prevents overreaction and conserves resources for sustained performance. Another essential principle is detachment from uncontrollable outcomes. Effort can be managed, but results are influenced by external factors. Accepting this fact reduces stress and allows focus to remain on what is actionable. Calm resilience grows when attention is placed on effort rather than results. This mindset strengthens endurance and reduces emotional fluctuation. Resilience is reinforced through repetition. Each challenge met calmly reinforces confidence. Confidence reduces fear of future difficulties and strengthens the capacity to remain stable under pressure. Over time, calm response becomes habitual rather than forced. Social interaction is another area for practicing calm resilience. Conflicts, misunderstandings, and differences of opinion test patience daily. Choosing measured speech and composed demeanor prevents escalation. It demonstrates mastery over emotion and encourages reciprocal calm. Calm communication strengthens relationships and reduces unnecessary stress. Cognitive reframing is an additional tool. Seeing challenges as opportunities rather than obstacles changes the emotional response. Each difficulty becomes a chance to test skills, practice patience, and strengthen problem solving. This perspective reduces resistance and encourages adaptive behavior. Environment supports calm response. Reducing noise, distractions, and clutter lowers emotional triggers. A clean, organized, and predictable environment allows the mind to focus on response rather than reacting to chaos. External simplicity fosters internal clarity. Another key point is accepting that mistakes will occur. Resilient individuals recognize that errors are part of progress. Responding calmly to personal failure models effective behavior. Calm acknowledgement followed by corrective action strengthens character. Panic or self-recrimination only amplifies difficulty. Visualization prepares the mind for challenges. Mentally rehearsing responses to anticipated situations builds readiness. When the actual scenario occurs, calm behavior is more likely because familiarity reduces surprise. This preparation reduces emotional intensity and supports clear action. Energy management underpins resilience. Physical exertion, sleep, and nutrition all affect emotional control. Maintaining energy reserves allows the mind to respond without depletion. Calm behavior is difficult when energy is low, so proactive self-care reinforces resilience. A supportive mindset values solutions over complaints. Resilient individuals focus on what can be done, not what went wrong. This orientation transforms challenges into tasks rather than crises. Action replaces frustration. Clarity emerges from effort. Resilience is strengthened by gratitude and acknowledgement of positive elements. Noticing what works reduces emotional volatility. Calm responses are easier when stressors do not dominate perception entirely. Balanced attention stabilizes mood and promotes steady focus. Mindset can be trained by daily exercises. Journaling about challenges, noting responses, and considering alternative approaches reinforces skill. Each reflection improves ability to act calmly in future situations. Daily attention to practice strengthens capability over time. Consistency in response builds reputation and self-confidence. Handling similar challenges calmly repeatedly creates trust in oneself and from others. Confidence further stabilizes behavior because prior success becomes evidence that challenges can be met effectively. Long-term resilience is cumulative. Each challenge navigated with calm preserves energy, sharpens judgment, and reinforces confidence. Small daily successes compound, preparing the mind for larger and less predictable obstacles. Practicing calm response reduces mental fatigue. Emotional storms consume cognitive resources. Calm behavior preserves attention, memory, and problem-solving capability. Over time, these preserved resources support sustained performance in all areas of life. Discipline, emotional intelligence, and self-control converge in calm response. Each daily test reinforces these abilities. Resilience is not abstract, it is practiced repeatedly in ordinary situations. Each small challenge becomes a training ground. This process transforms perception of challenges. They are no longer sources of fear or frustration. They are opportunities to apply skill, practice patience, and reinforce inner stability. Calm response strengthens character and shapes identity. Responding calmly to daily challenges builds a reliable foundation for long-term growth. It preserves energy, sharpens judgment, and cultivates steady progress. Through repeated practice, calm response becomes a natural instinct rather than a forced effort. Life becomes navigable even under pressure, and resilience grows silently but powerfully with every challenge met intentionally and deliberately. Chapter 9. Reflect each night to learn, adjust, and improve tomorrow. Reflection is one of the most underrated tools for growth, yet it has the power to transform ordinary effort into steady progress. Each day presents countless experiences, choices, successes, and setbacks, and without pausing to examine them, most lessons go unnoticed. Taking time each night to reflect allows the mind to organize events, understand causes and effects, and plan adjustments for tomorrow. Reflection is not about judgment or criticism. It is about learning, clarity, and intentional improvement. It converts experience into wisdom and prevents mistakes from repeating unknowingly. The first step in effective reflection is slowing down. The day often moves quickly with a series of actions and reactions. Without a pause, patterns remain hidden. Creating a nightly habit of setting aside even 10 minutes for reflection gives the mind space to process events calmly. This pause separates the noise of immediate emotions from rational understanding and provides the clarity needed for constructive evaluation. Honest observation is central to reflection. Focus on what actually happened rather than what was intended or hoped for. Recognize successes alongside mistakes. Writing down what went well and what could improve transforms abstract experience into tangible insights. This practice develops accountability and prevents avoidance. Over time, the record becomes a mirror of progress, showing both strengths and areas that need attention. Reflection involves examining decisions and responses. Ask questions about what prompted certain actions. Were they deliberate choices or automatic reactions? Did they serve long-term goals or short-term comfort? Understanding motivations helps prevent unconscious patterns from repeating. Over time, this awareness allows actions to align with values and intentions, turning each day into a training ground for consistent improvement. Analyzing mistakes is a critical part of nightly reflection. When errors are identified calmly and factually, they become opportunities for growth. Avoid assigning moral judgment to missteps. Instead, focus on causes and solutions. Consider what could be done differently tomorrow. Small, deliberate adjustments compound into significant improvement over time. Reflection also strengthens decision-making. By reviewing which choices produced positive outcomes and which did not, the mind becomes better at predicting consequences and evaluating options in real time. This learning is cumulative. Each night's review sharpens judgment, reduces impulsive errors, and encourages more rational responses under pressure. Daily reflection includes evaluating effort and consistency. Consider whether routines were followed, habits practiced, and energy managed effectively. Identifying where attention or effort waned highlights areas for adjustment. Honest evaluation of effort rather than outcome ensures that improvement is grounded in controllable factors. This approach preserves motivation by focusing on what can be changed rather than what is beyond control. Another essential element is noticing emotional responses. Reflecting on moments of stress, irritation, or excitement reveals patterns that influence behavior. Understanding emotional triggers allows preparation for similar situations in the future. By recognizing these triggers nightly, it becomes possible to respond with calm intention rather than reactive emotion. Over time, this reduces internal conflict and strengthens resilience. Reflection also involves asking constructive questions for tomorrow. What can be done differently? How can routines be adjusted for efficiency? What small actions will create momentum? These forward-focused questions convert insight into planning. They prevent learning from stagnating, as observation alone has limited impact without actionable follow-through. Incorporating gratitude into nightly reflection enhances clarity. Recognizing achievements, progress, and positive moments balances critique with acknowledgement. This encourages a realistic perspective, prevents discouragement, and strengthens emotional well-being. Balanced reflection preserves energy for continuous growth while maintaining motivation. Journaling is a practical tool for nightly reflection. Writing consolidates thoughts, creates a record for review, and reinforces memory of lessons learned. A simple structure noting successes, challenges, emotional state, and adjustments for tomorrow is highly effective. Over weeks, the journal becomes a roadmap of improvement, providing evidence of growth and guiding future action. Reflection also requires honesty without harshness. The goal is clarity, not self-punishment. Objective assessment of events prevents emotional distortion and allows practical adjustments. It encourages self-responsibility rather than blame, transforming reflection into a tool for empowerment instead of discouragement. Time management can be refined through nightly reflection. Assess which tasks were prioritized, which were postponed, and why. This analysis exposes inefficiencies and allows restructuring of schedules for more effective use of time. Small improvements in planning compound to create substantial gains in productivity. Physical and mental energy evaluation is another part of reflection. Consider when focus peaked or dropped, which activities were draining or energizing, and how rest and nutrition influenced performance. Recognizing these patterns enables adjustments to routines that preserve energy and maintain consistent effort. Reflection also strengthens adaptability. Reviewing situations that did not go as planned teaches flexibility and creative problem solving. Instead of resisting change, reflection cultivates understanding of what worked, what didn't, and how to respond differently next time. This mindset reduces frustration and improves overall effectiveness. Self-awareness is deepened through nightly reflection. The act of observing one's own behavior, choices, and emotions consistently builds insight into personal tendencies and motivations. Greater self-awareness leads to better control over impulses and a higher likelihood of acting in alignment with long-term goals. Another crucial benefit is confidence. Seeing a record of small improvements over time reinforces belief in one's ability to grow. Recognizing repeated efforts, even when outcomes are modest, strengthens self-trust and motivates continued action. Confidence from reflection is grounded in real evidence rather than wishful thinking. Reflection also promotes strategic thinking. By reviewing successes and failures, it becomes possible to identify patterns and design better systems for tomorrow. Small course corrections can be implemented before minor issues escalate into major problems. This proactive approach prevents wasted effort and maximizes efficiency. Nightly reflection reinforces discipline. Creating a consistent habit of reviewing the day forms a self-sustaining feedback loop. The mind learns that effort is observed and evaluated, increasing accountability and the likelihood of intentional action the following day. Discipline grows from repetition, supported by consistent reflection. A key principle is focusing on controllable factors. Reflection is most effective when directed at choices, effort, and actions rather than outcomes influenced by external circumstances. This perspective empowers rather than discourages, ensuring energy is used on what can be improved. Reflection also improves communication and relationships. Evaluating interactions, responses, and tone reveals patterns in behavior that affect others. Adjusting approach based on these observations strengthens connection and reduces conflict. Awareness of social dynamics enhances emotional intelligence and facilitates collaboration. Over time, nightly reflection creates momentum. Each small insight applied the next day compounds into consistent improvement. Minor adjustments accumulate into significant progress. The practice itself becomes a stabilizing force, preventing stagnation and promoting continuous learning. Reflection transforms experience into actionable knowledge. Life becomes a series of deliberate steps rather than repeated mistakes. Each night's review informs the next day, creating a loop of learning, adjustment, and improvement that drives steady progress. Consistency is key. Skipping reflection occasionally is not catastrophic, but habitual neglect diminishes insight. The habit of nightly review ensures the mind remains engaged with its own growth and sustains long-term development. By reflecting each night, the mind gains clarity, lessons are internalized, and tomorrow becomes a deliberate opportunity rather than a repeat of yesterday's mistakes. This practice strengthens self-awareness, improves decision-making, and builds the foundation for continuous personal growth. Each night spent reflecting is an investment in a wiser, more capable, and more resilient self ready to face tomorrow with intention, calm, and determination. Chapter 103: Sustain growth by committing to 1% daily improvement. Sustaining growth requires a mindset that prioritizes consistency over intensity and focuses on small improvements repeated daily. Change is not achieved in bursts, but through steady incremental progress. Committing to 1% improvement each day transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results over time. The key is recognizing that small actions, compounded consistently, accumulate into meaningful advancement. This approach reduces pressure, increases feasibility, and strengthens discipline by emphasizing manageable steps rather than overwhelming goals. Daily improvement begins with identifying areas that matter most. Prioritize behaviors and skills that align directly with long-term goals. Focusing energy on what truly matters ensures that small gains are meaningful. Attempting to improve too many areas at once dilutes effort and reduces the likelihood of lasting change. Choosing 1 to 3 focus areas creates clarity and enables targeted daily action. Measuring improvement is essential for sustaining growth. Tracking small changes provides evidence that progress is happening, which fuels motivation. Metrics should be simple and directly related to action. Whether tracking minutes spent practicing a skill, tasks completed, or habits maintained, having visible progress encourages commitment. Daily reflection on what improved, however slightly, reinforces a growth-oriented mindset and strengthens resilience against setbacks. Breaking larger goals into micro steps makes 1% improvement achievable. Large objectives often feel distant and intimidating, leading to procrastination. By reducing them into bite-sized actions, progress becomes immediate and observable. Each micro-step completed signals success, reinforces effort, and builds momentum. Over weeks and months, these small wins accumulate into significant transformation. Consistency is reinforced through routine. Establishing daily rituals that include dedicated time for improvement ensures that growth does not depend on fleeting motivation. Structured practice removes ambiguity and strengthens habit formation. A fixed time each day for reflection, skill development, or action creates stability, minimizes decision fatigue, and maximizes energy for meaningful work. Commitment to daily improvement also requires self-compassion. Some days will produce less progress due to fatigue, unforeseen circumstances, or imperfect execution. Recognizing that minor setbacks are part of the process prevents discouragement. Rather than abandoning growth efforts, sustain focus on the next small action. Persistence matters more than perfection in long-term development. Accountability enhances sustained improvement. Sharing goals or tracking progress publicly, with a partner or in a journal, reinforces commitment. External observation encourages follow-through and reduces the temptation to skip small actions. Accountability also provides perspective and support, making challenges easier to navigate and reinforcing a pattern of continuous effort. Sustaining growth requires focusing on controllable elements. Concentrate on actions, effort, and consistency rather than results beyond control. While outcomes are influenced by multiple factors, effort and persistence are fully within reach. Shifting attention to controllable variables reduces frustration, maintains motivation, and strengthens the habit of continuous improvement. Incremental growth builds compounding advantage. Even 1% improvement per day leads to exponential gains over time. Minor adjustments in skill, productivity, or knowledge multiply, producing outcomes far beyond the apparent magnitude of each daily effort. The compounding effect is amplified by consistency and reinforced by reflection, measurement, and deliberate action. Daily commitment develops discipline, which sustains growth beyond motivation. Motivation fluctuates with energy and emotion, but discipline remains reliable. By committing to small daily actions, discipline is exercised and strengthened. The repetition of intentional effort trains the mind to act despite discomfort or distraction, ensuring that growth continues even on low motivation days. 1% improvement fosters adaptability. Small daily steps allow course corrections without significant disruption. When minor adjustments are implemented consistently, strategies and methods evolve naturally in response to feedback and results. This creates a resilient growth system capable of navigating unexpected challenges without losing momentum. Maintaining focus on progress rather than perfection reinforces consistency. Celebrating small achievements encourages continued effort, while obsessing over ideal outcomes often undermines confidence. Recognition of incremental growth validates effort and strengthens commitment. Each day of improvement, no matter how small, becomes evidence of capability and progress. Habits are the foundation of sustained growth. Small repeated actions become automatic over time. When growth-oriented behaviors are integrated into daily life, less willpower is needed and progress becomes reliable. Establishing routines that support 1% improvement reduces dependence on motivation and strengthens long-term sustainability. Continuous learning is reinforced through incremental growth. Daily exposure to new ideas, refinement of skills, and reflection on performance gradually expands knowledge and competence. Consistent effort compounds cognitive, emotional, and behavioral skills over time, creating a foundation for success in multiple areas of life. Sustainability is enhanced by simplicity. Avoid overcomplicating actions or goals. 1% daily improvement requires clarity, focus, and manageable steps. Complex systems or excessive effort often lead to fatigue and discontinuity. Simplicity ensures consistency and encourages adherence to the growth plan. Tracking progress visually supports long-term commitment. Charts, journals, or simple check marks provide tangible evidence of momentum. Seeing progress reinforces belief in the system and motivates continued effort. The accumulation of small victories over time becomes a visual reminder of capability and the power of consistent action. Patience is integral to sustaining growth. Change occurs gradually, and results may not be immediately visible. Trusting the process ensures continued effort despite delayed outcomes. 1% daily improvement is designed to build durable results, and patience allows the compounding effect to manifest fully. Reflection strengthens adaptation. Daily review of what worked, what did not, and potential adjustments for tomorrow ensures growth is dynamic. Reflection allows learning from errors without discouragement and converts experience into actionable insight. Each night's review supports continuous refinement of methods, enhancing efficiency and effectiveness. Energy management supports consistency. Sustaining growth requires physical and mental readiness. Adequate rest, nutrition, and exercise ensure that small daily actions can be performed reliably. Energy conservation reduces risk of burnout and maintains focus on continuous improvement. Commitment to 1% improvement fosters resilience. By focusing on manageable progress, setbacks become temporary obstacles rather than discouraging failures. The mindset shifts from all or nothing thinking to steady advancement. Resilience grows as repeated small successes reinforce confidence and perseverance. Account for compounding impact of small gains. Each improvement increases capacity for further growth. Learning builds upon itself. Skills expand incrementally, creating a foundation for tackling larger goals effectively. Recognizing the power of compounding encourages sustained adherence to daily effort. Sustained growth also requires intentional prioritization. Focus on actions with the greatest leverage toward long-term objectives. Avoid dispersing effort on inconsequential tasks. Strategic daily improvement ensures that energy is invested where it produces meaningful outcomes. A growth-oriented identity emerges from repeated daily action. As habits solidify and small gains accumulate, self-perception shifts. One begins to see oneself as capable, persistent, and committed. This identity reinforces behavior, making sustained improvement more natural and less effortful. Consistency becomes habitual. Daily commitment establishes rhythm and routine, reducing the likelihood of skipping action. The mind begins to expect improvement as a natural part of the day. Habitual consistency is the backbone of long-term growth. Sustaining growth is reinforced by mindset. Viewing challenges as opportunities and setbacks as feedback encourages continued effort. Optimism grounded in actionable behavior strengthens resolve and reduces discouragement. Small daily actions create momentum that carries forward. Each completed step builds energy and confidence for the next. Momentum ensures that progress continues even when motivation fluctuates, turning effort into a reliable, self-perpetuating cycle. Sustaining growth by committing to 1% daily improvement turns abstract goals into tangible daily practice. Each action compounds, builds confidence, and strengthens resilience. Over time, incremental effort produces extraordinary results, creating lasting transformation without reliance on motivation or luck. By embracing small, consistent improvements, growth becomes inevitable, measurable, and sustainable, ensuring that every day contributes to a stronger, wiser, and more capable self.